A showdown on Capitol Hill over the future of government surveillance. Senator Rand Paul defending his legislative move, which caused parts of the Patriot Act to expire overnight, including the National Security Agency's bulk collection of phone data.
We're telling the president no more. The government is no longer going to collect all of our records all the time. So this is a big rebuke to the president, and the president's now going to have to obey the law.
But there are those who are rebuking Rand Paul. The senator's facing stiff opposition, including from many in his own party, who say curbing this surveillance put Americans in danger.
As I look at what's happening around the world right now, we need to make sure that we are protecting Americans and not going back to where we were before 9/11.
Let's talk about it with Daniel Halper, the online editor for the Weekly Standard. Kevin Cirilli is reporter for The Hill. Daniel, it sounds like or seems like Rand Paul is not necessarily making a lot of friends in the Republican Party. Do I have that right?
That's correct. He doesn't actually seem to be making any friends in the Republican Party. Very few people have jumped in his support, and I don't think that's a very good thing. Look, if you're a Republican presidential candidate, it's great if you can change the terms of the debate, which he has been able to do. But he's used his elevated platform poorly. He's used it twice to attack Republicans. He's accused Republicans of wanting to create ISIS, and he's accused some Republicans, of wanting a terror attack in America just to prove Rand Paul wrong. When you're trying to get Republicans for Republican presidential primary, it's bad to attack them.
Yeah, let's play what he had to say about that particular issue. Raised a lot of eyebrows. Here's Senator Paul.
I think sometimes in the heat of battle, hyperbole can get the better of anyone, and that may be the problem there. The point I was trying to make is that I think people do use fear to try to get us to give up our liberty.
That was Rand Paul, I should explain, on America's Newsroom, talking about kind of walking back his comments a little bit when he suggested that some Republicans were secretly hoping for an attack on the United States so that he could essentially, or so that they could blame him. He walked that back a little bit earlier today. All right, so maybe he's not making friends on the Senate floor, Kevin, but is he, among those who enjoy his libertarian leanings, is he building a following?
Well, what's interesting, John, is that when you look at Senator Paul and his strengths a couple of months ago, before he announced that he was running for president, was that he said that he wanted to expand the Republican Party, expand the tent, take republicanism and conservative ideology to constituencies that traditionally haven't voted Republican. But what these comments in the past couple of days and weeks suggest is that he's really been off message. And so while a lot of his policies about reining in the bulk data collection and NSA overreach are popular among a majority of Americans, he's got to figure out how to not get off message, not make these controversial statements that Daniel alluded to, particularly blaming Republicans for creating ISIS, and try to again go back to that strategy where he can appeal to growing the Republican Party instead of just relying on those libertarian-leaning Republicans.
Lindsey Graham entered the presidential race today. A lot of people suggest he wouldn't be there were it not for Rand Paul's presence. And Lindsey Graham got caught on C-SPAN cameras doing this at one of Rand Paul's remarks. There he is, rolling his eyes as Rand Paul makes that speech on the Senate floor. So what about it? Is Lindsey Graham the anti-Rand Paul in this race?
Yeah, definitely a little bit. Look, he's a lot more hawkish. He's a lot more of an interventionist compared to Rand Paul. A lot of people want to laugh off Lindsey Graham, and that's fair enough. He doesn't have a huge following the way some of these other senators like Ted Cruz or Marco Rubio do. But the truth is, he does have a clearer view, a clearer path to the nomination than a lot of other people in this race. He's a senator from South Carolina. That's the third state in the nation to get a primary. If he has a very strong showing in South Carolina, which he's won obviously several times, most recently last November, well, why can't he be in it? I mean, that's it's fine to laugh him off, but he is sort of a serious contender.
A lot of
Plus,
people...
there's everybody's in it at this point, right? I mean, why not run if you're Senator Graham?
Totally.
Yeah, a bunch of Republican senators already are. All right, let's talk about the Democratic side. Recent polls have shown Bernie Sanders far behind Hillary Clinton among Democratic voters in the presidential primaries, but the Vermont senator might be gaining some momentum. Large crowds are showing up at Sanders campaign events over the weekend. What about it, Kevin? Is Bernie Sanders for real?
Oh, he's a long shot candidate, but that being said, I think it just shows that how Democrats are wanting anyone to challenge Hillary Clinton. I think and not just have a coronation. What's interesting about this, John, is that when you look at how folks have criticized the former Secretary of State for having too much of a micromanaged rollout, having these question and answer sessions, I think what it shows when you have large crowds at Senator Sanders' town halls and he's taking questions, it shows that people and everyday Americans are hungry for a race, especially Iowa Democrats. And so I think that it really just speaks to the frustration on the grassroots level that the former Secretary of State has not been able to answer questions from folks. Now, that being said, the business community is a little bit worried, if you will, that someone like a Senator Sanders would pull Hillary Clinton to the left, in which case that could present a political headache for her, as she then would have to move back to the middle during a general election and win over those independent voters in order to win the presidency.
Daniel, is Hillary Clinton at all worried about this socialist from Vermont?
She should be a little bit. The Democratic Party has shifted a lot since her husband was president of the United States. It's no longer Bill Clinton's Democratic Party. It's Barack Obama's. And Bernie Sanders, I think, is a pretty good reflection of where the Democratic Party is. And it's no surprise that he's gaining a little bit of momentum. The other advantage that Bernie Sanders has in comparison to Hillary Clinton is he actually believes what he says. I think that's a big advantage when presidential candidates actually believe what they're touting. And he has a long track record of being consistent, being a very liberal senator, and there's a lot of very liberal Democrats who like that.
And the critics will say Hillary Clinton these days isn't saying anything. So,
right.
All right. Thank you very much. Daniel Halper from the Weekly Standard, Kevin Cirilli from The Hill.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.